strategy, sorry.
A chance to double up and a little bit. Fortunately, the opposite of doubling up is doubling out. That's a safe flop.
She needs to avoid a 6 or an 8. There's the 8. It's a cruel game.
We've seen a king pass. There's just the 2 in the deck, or Catherine Hartree is going to be unlucky 6.
Thank you.
It's the queen. She hits the bar. No cigar. Catherine's the first one out, and she was the favourite for this heat, but
Thank you.
she cannot blame herself. She had a cold deck. The turn card was the worst card for her, and she thought it was the best.
I think Kelly Jackson summed it up pretty neat on the time. She went, that's a bit crap, isn't it? Because I am.
Welcome back to the Party Poker Women's World Open 2. Heat number 2 of 6 in action.
Kelly's got a proper hand now. Wired 9s there. That's pretty good 5-handed. She'll be raising this up.
I have to admit, I'd like to see her limp now.
I wouldn't limp with 9s,
No,
Jesse.
okay.
You're always going to see overcards. It's a bit dangerous. Nice to raise it up, but she is in early position there. We'll see what happens behind her.
It's only the second time Kelly's raised this evening. I think she's going to get some respect. Well, it looks like nobody's... Well, there's a defender. And what is Amy up to?
Maybe she thinks because Kelly's limped a lot and put hands down that she can take this away from her even if she doesn't hit. Let's see.
And perhaps she thinks that Kelly is just a little frustrated and might not actually have a hand.
That's true. Now that's not a bad flop at all for a pair of 9s. You've got an overpair. I'd like to have seen Kelly bet that board. I think that's a great board not to give your opponent a free card on. You see, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see a club. You don't want to see an overcard to your pair. Kelly now has made it more difficult to continue with her hand because she's allowed her opponent into the pot. And Amy has woken up and boy has she got some game.
Wonder what is in Kelly's mind about how to play this hand. I mean, it's a dangerous board to be raising on.
Yeah, it's a dangerous board to be raising on now because there are so many cards that could be beating her. She would have been better off defining her hand by making a flop bet there, but she doesn't. She is still ahead, but she doesn't want to see a queen and she doesn't want to see a club.
This pot is fairly large when considering the size of the players' stacks, and from Amy Trodd's point of view, you know, she might think that Kelly has a hand similar to herself, which is just high cards with a club. She might try and steal this with another bullet.
She might, but you know, if Kelly's going to call on a difficult board on the turn, surely she must call on the river, unless the best is so massive. If Kelly can find a value bet here, having sensed weakness in Amy, that is top-class poker.
Wow, it seems pretty thin.
Okay, it's a very thin value bet, but it's the kind of thing that top players do to maximise their winnings when they think they're ahead. She must have sensed weakness. A bit of acting from Amy there. Amy's got nothing. She's going to lay this down. Kelly's hoping she lays it down.
Ace king.
Have you got ace king?
She ain't telling. That was a pretty sketchy pot. I'll tell you what, Kelly is...
I wouldn't have been in. Huh?
I never transisted.
That's all right.
I'll tell you one thing, though. She's glad to stack up those chips. She took a lot of gamble there, Kelly Jackson, but she did end up making a little extra money because of it.
This might be. You remember Helter Skelter?
Do you think that people who stack their chips in a neat and orderly way are a bit anal, Jesse?
Excuse me?
Anal. It's a psychological term for hung up.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know that. You know, I know that was one of Mike Caro's early philosophies. You know, and I've always found that sort of everything a person does at the poker table is a window into their personality.
Carlos Mortensen, for example, the great Spanish champion, he makes rocket ships and all kinds of things with his, doesn't he?
And here goes Amy again. She's her game
Oh, wait,
is
I need to put the-
it's very creative on the edges. I'll tell you what. There's nothing
9 more.
normal about it.
She's decided that May Maceras is at it in position every time, and she's not having it. And you know, she's very, very brave because she's the low stack at the table at the moment, and that 9,000 eats a big chunk out of her stack.
Yeah, and if you're May here, she can afford to take this off. I mean, here she is. She's in position. She's got double the chips of Amy. I mean, Amy is walking up a hill right now. And thank God for Amy, she flopped a piece of this.
Yeah, the slope's gone the other way now. She's walking down the hill, and she's gaining momentum.
I could see a lot of chips going in this pot. I mean, May's got more than a bit of this. Not as much as Amy, but more than a bit.
Well, she must be looking at Amy's chip stack and thinking, would she be committing that much of her chip stack on a board like this unless she'd hit it in the face? I've got an overcard. I've got an inside straight draw. That's about it.
I felt
14?
this.
Yeah. 32.
Wow.
Raised to 32 total.
You're playing for your tournament now, Amy. Is this the
Which
moment?
month was that?
18.
18.
Yeah, May has kind of implied that she's gonna put the rest of if Amy re-raises, she'll put the rest of her chips away.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah.
That
What-
is the correct
All in?
move. All in is her only move.
How much more is for me?
Is she pot committed now? Has May Maceras committed herself to this pot? What price is she getting to call? And she's working out her outs. She has 3 queens and 3 jacks in the deck. 4 jacks. That's 7 outs with 2 cards to come. You multiply that by 4, about 28%.
Yeah, I think this call is going to be quite automatic for May at the end of the day. She might be thinking back to, how she could have played this hand differently. Once she's called that raise before the flop, then I think everything else was just kind of going to happen.
Well, the one thing that Amy knows now is that she's ahead, because her opponent would not be dwelling on a massive pot for the sake of 24,000 chips.
Okay,
If she'd
I have
hit,
to call. I have most
even
of
if
it,
she
I
had
have
a
to call.
flush draw, already
No.
her money would be in the middle. She has to call. She knows she has to call. Amy needs to avoid a jack. She needs to avoid a
I have
queen.
got straight draw.
It's a
How much more is?
26. So it's
20.
fine, we can just stay
Okay,
after.
26.
it's a good spot for Amy Trod, but she is the one all in. And as you mentioned, 27% is with 2 cards to come. It's 27% is live
No, it's
enough.
not. I just
It's all
think
about your
horrible,
chip
isn't
stack.
it?
She didn't have enough fold equity to push May off the hand now. Well, that's a good card for her. A queen or a jack only.
Hey, it's yours, don't be nervous.
And she's held.
A sigh of relief. She's doubled through.
Wow.
This game is all about studying and improving. Everybody starts off as a beginner, but in the course of a year, how much can you learn? Well, these girls are showing today you can learn a great deal. The standard of this poker is very high.
2 up, 4 out.
Okay, raise 6 more.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those, one of those long-distance races in the Olympics. They're going 16 times around the track, and everybody sort of takes a turn at the front. Sort of Angie is setting the pace right now, isn't she?
That's
6,000
absolutely
all,
right.
yeah.
They are. And the other thing is, unlike the Olympic Games, nobody steps out and gives you a good beating every lap, and that's certainly happening at this table today. You run a lap and then you get slapped around a bit and have to carry on running. Wow, what a flop. What a flop for Angie there.
I check.
A quick check behind there by Angie, trying to show weakness by checking as quickly as possible. Oh, that's a horror card. Amy.
Check.
And Amy's slow playing.
She might be a bit
15.
suspicious. I love what Angie did there, because obviously she noticed that Amy got busy from the big blind against Kelly on a checked flop. Amy's in trouble.
Amy's in trouble, and she's starting to look down now, and she's thinking, I wonder if my kick is poor. Can I put her on a king? How could you put her on a king? She checked behind immediately now. Value betting. How much to bet to get paid into a 50